I'm just going to say this and to the fans, and the commitment will be unwavering. But I won my first Super Bowl here in North Texas at AT&T Stadium, and I just want to tell you I am anxious and excited to get to work on winning the next Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys.
An offseason of changes is officially underway here at the Star in Frisco, and this is Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy. I'm Bill Jones inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco. What a week it has been as the Dallas Cowboys have a new head coach. He is Mike McCarthy, who spent 13 seasons as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, winning a Super Bowl some 9 years ago at AT&T Stadium. And let's kick off this edition of Cowboys Huddle by taking a look back at the opening press conference. Mike McCarthy, the new coach of the Cowboys, back on Wednesday inside Ford Center.
I just want to tell you, the importance and the understanding of how to protect and be the steward of this iconic franchise. I'm really looking forward to doing that. This past year has been a gift. It's been a gift in a lot of ways. It's been a gift for my family and I, Jessica, our children. But it's been a gift with a purpose. And that purpose for me personally was to be a better husband, a better father, and fortunately had the time to work on being a better coach. So I'm really thrilled once again about this opportunity. And I just want to say, my family is my team, and my team is excited to be here and be part of the Dallas Cowboys. Family and football. It's great to see smiling Randall over there. He still looks like he's 20 years old when he arrived in Green Bay. But family and football, as we've always talked about, was always the approach and always the focus. And you find out right away that everything in this organization starts and finishes with the Jones family. So a big thank you to Jerry and Steven, Jerry Jr., the whole Jones family for once again for this great opportunity. And lastly, I'm just going to say this and to the fans, and the commitment will be unwavering. But I won my first Super Bowl here in North Texas at AT&T Stadium, and I just want to tell you I am anxious and excited to get to work on winning the next Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you. It's a thrill to be here.
Thank you. Questions now. Brooke and Joe have microphones.
Can you talk about what appealed to you about this job, and what are your expectations for your first season here?
Well, expectations, we'll get into that obviously once we get going, but it's the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think you need to go further than that. Obviously the tradition and history here is so unique, and it's an iconic franchise. And the opportunity to really get in the room and talk football and structure, culture, and all the things a part of what we feel like we need to do to win that Super Bowl. Really, when you think about expectation, the goal will never change here. It's about winning championships, but the expectation is going to be trust in the process, and that process will be we'll get to work on that as soon as we can here. So and it's already started. Frankly, with we're trying to put together a staff, and we don't have really anything to share today, but it's starting that process, and that'll be the expectation, to just trust that process, and that's something that we're going to have to build and work on every day.
Mike McCarthy needs the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys need Mike McCarthy. So much to get into over the course of the next half hour. And up next, it's David Moore of the Dallas Morning News as Cowboys Huddle continues in a moment.
Cowboys Huddle is brought to you by AT&T. Ford is the best in Texas. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
And welcome back to Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. Wow, this thing came together very quickly last weekend, but I guess when Jerry Jones finally decided, or quickly decided, this was his guy, it comes together quickly.
Yeah, it's Mike McCarthy came in. You know, my understanding was he was originally scheduled to interview last Thursday. That was rescheduled, and so then he went to Cleveland on Thursday and New York on Friday, and then came in here after that. The Cowboys talked to Marvin Lewis first. Mike was the first one they were scheduled to talk to, but because of the rescheduling, Marvin Lewis, and then Mike McCarthy comes in, and the meeting started about 1 Saturday afternoon, wrapped up about 1 in the morning, Sunday morning. And at that point, it became clear, all of the principals spoke about this at the introductory news conference. It became clear over the course of those 12 hours that he was going to be the guy, that it clicked, that there was almost an instant chemistry, as kind of it was described. And it goes beyond that. They got into, certainly they're compatible for what they want to do on the field. They talked a lot about this team, the personnel, how it should be handled, the cursory or beginning stages of that. But just a good overall feel, and almost moved quicker than they anticipated. I think there were some other steps after this, but after those 12 hours together, it was determined why. Let's go ahead and do this now.
Or why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see the fit. I mean, Mike McCarthy, if you saw the interviews that he did with Peter King and Tom Pelissero, obviously he wanted to get back in. It's almost like he has a chip on his shoulder to prove that
Sure.
he can succeed once again as a head coach in this league. And then obviously Jerry described it as it was like finding lightning in a bottle right there, that this guy with his credentials is available at this time.
Yeah, and also Jerry, as he's wont to do, spun several analogies. One of them, where I think everyone wondered where it was going, and he wrapped it up beautifully, as he always does, was he was talking about how when his sister wanted a divorce and went to his father, and the father loved the brother-in-law and said, well, what are you doing here? Are you sure about this? I mean, everybody goes through times of, like this. And she said, well, Dad, I just don't hear bells anymore. And he goes, well, I haven't heard bells in 30 years. And so everyone is looking and laughing and looking at Jerry, and then he's going, my point is, I heard bells. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, that's what it was with that meeting with McCarthy. And another point from Mike's perspective, I think this is interesting too. He's been with an iconic franchise, and he told a story that I loved about in his first days as the head coach in Green Bay. He would drive by on his way to go to work every day. He would drive by the statue of Curly Lambeau, drive by the statue of Vince Lombardi. And after about 5 days, he went, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going in the back door. And he took a different route. And he said he was joking, but again, it gets across just when you have that rich of a history. There's a lot to live up to, and he's been through that in Green Bay. He's aware of what he's getting into here, no question.
And when you look at what Jerry Jones wants out of Mike McCarthy, how long do you think the bells will still be ringing for Jerry?
Well, he does. How long is the honeymoon period is what you're asking. This is the other thing. I think it's very clear in this search. They wanted, they had a great amount of respect in Jason Garrett. It didn't work out. They invested a lot of time there. There was no doubt whoever came in after Jason was going to have the label no assembly required. And that is Mike McCarthy. They are expecting immediate results. They still thought this team should be playing this weekend rather than them conducting finishing up a coaching search. So that is, again, that's the bar that you go into next season with.
All right, we're going to preview the games on Sunday with David coming up a little bit on Cowboys Huddle. But up next, it's Nick Eekman to get his take on what happened this past week.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy, continues inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star. Bill Jones now joined by Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com as we break down what happened this past week. Mike McCarthy, the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And Nick, at the press conference on Wednesday, I think, well, there were a lot of happy people in the press conference, but one of the happiest looked to be a Cowboys wide receiver who happens to be a free agent. And that would be one Randall Cobb, who, of course, played for Mike McCarthy for many years in Green Bay.
I guess his name is Smiling Randall Cobb. That's what Mike McCarthy called him, and he got a chance to look at a handful of guys that were there at the press conference. But when you're talking about guys that and from a coaching staff, obviously you look at familiarity. I think the same goes with players as well. Now, it was funny because I had actually said, I wrote an article, I don't know if those ties really matter so much. If he's got to make a decision to move on, they'll make that decision. And then when he said that in the press conference, I was like, yeah, he's probably coming back. They'll probably try to make that happen because not only was he there, but acknowledged that I think that, they can figure out they need a slot guy. They need a guy that can help Dak and this offense move. And I think he could do that. He was a little inconsistent at times, but then that fit in with the rest of the offense.
Yeah, it's kind of the way the season went.
Right.
He's a quarterback-friendly player, a receiver for Dak Prescott, and Mike McCarthy is a quarterback-friendly coach, wouldn't you say?
Sure. I mean, when you look at what Green Bay was able to do, obviously Aaron Rodgers was the key to all that, but very similar to me with what the Patriots had, with different moving parts all the time. Didn't have to be first-round picks. It could be guys that you thought were complimentary players, and then all of a sudden they're in the Pro Bowl 2 or 3 years. And that's what I think a good offensive coach does. And so complimentary guys that could really play at a high level, and that's what Randall Cobb did for years. And so if he can get the best out of him as well, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to bring him back, maybe another one-year deal.
The Cowboys have not officially released the coaching staff that McCarthy is putting together as we speak right now, but there are reports come out about Mike Nolan, defensive coordinator, and of course, McCarthy was on Mike Nolan's staff at San Francisco as his offensive coordinator back in 2005 prior to getting the Green Bay job in 2006. Nolan has run a 3-4 defense a lot in the past. Cowboys obviously have been running a 4-3. What do you think of the scheme fit on defense?
I think they'll try to go 4-3, to see if that works. But, usually if you're going to make that transition, you have to have the edge pass rushers. You've got to have those guys. And so, when you look at what the Cowboys were able to do back in 2003, 4, 5, Bill Parcells, in 2005, they were going to go for 3-4. In one draft, he was able to get DeMarcus Ware, Marcus Spears, Chris Canty, Jay Ratliff. You get all that. Now
what a draft that was.
Exactly. You didn't mention Marion Barber, and that was a really good draft, but they were able to make that transition. So I think it'll be a process, and I know that's a word that was mentioned a few times in that press conference. So I guess it goes around the NFL, but it is a process to go to a 3-4. I wonder if they have a one technique, a nose tackle, and the edge rushers. I'm not sure Jalen Smith, who's going to the Pro Bowl this year. I don't know if Jalen Smith couldn't go and be an outside rusher. Wouldn't want to change his spot. He had a pretty good year, but I think, a guy that can move forward like that. But it'll be interesting to see if they do that. And now, with the Patriots, you see what they've done. They can play 4-3 and 3-4 in the middle of a game. So it may be a combination.
Yeah, you kind of want to be a hybrid defense.
Right.
All right, Nick Eatman, we appreciate it. And up next here on Cowboys Huddle, more with Nick coming up in just a moment. We turn our attention to the Cowboys special teams when we come back. Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy with Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com as we dig a little deeper into the Cowboys' off-season needs. And the coaching staff is being put together as we speak, and a lot of reports out there. John Fossil, formerly of the Los Angeles Rams, headed to the Dallas Cowboys. This is a very respected special teams coach around the league.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, a lot of times, the Cowboys have had some good special teams coaches. I think, Fossil is definitely one of them. He's been an interim head coach in the past for whatever that's worth. But I do think that when you've been around and you understand the concepts, that's the big part of special teams. To me, though, the biggest part is going to have to be, does he fight in the meeting rooms? Can he fight for the players? And that's going to be always going to be an issue. We've seen it whether it be on Hard Knocks or just guys talking about it. You've got to be able to say, this linebacker was cut by this team. He'll fit in perfectly here. We need to upgrade special teams. If you can get a core of 6 or 7 guys, that's going to be a key. And he's apparently done that in the past, and so I think that's going to be important for him as he comes in and tries to fix special teams.
And the other thing about this coaching staff is it's a complete shakeup of the coaching staff going on here, and Jerry Jones is giving Mike McCarthy the ability to hire his own coaches.
Yeah, and that's always important. You got to surround yourself with people that you trust and that you know, and they understand what you're trying to do as well. And so, I think that's. I think most coaches get that, but I think Jerry also wanted to say that really in reference to Kellen Moore, because I believe Mike McCarthy really does like Kellen, wants him to be on staff. I'm sure there's a perception out there that he told him to keep this coach, but there's been interviews before this that he really liked what Kellen was doing here. So I think that statement was about that, but it is important to surround yourself with guys that you know.
You alluded to it earlier in the show. Jalen Smith has been added to the Pro Bowl, as well as Amari Cooper. So now, 6 Cowboy Pro Bowlers?
Yeah. I wonder if the NFC is the home team for that game because, he plays well at the home. He hasn't played as well there, obviously, on the road. But well enough to get into the Pro Bowl.
I think he'll be able to put up some stats in that game.
Put up some stats, you think so?
Whether he's on the home or on the road.
I think, Amari's a guy, two Pro Bowls now for him. And we'll see what happens with the contract. I still think that it's so important to get Dak done. It's just a big contract, no franchise tag, because I think a franchise tag makes more sense for Amari if you can't get a deal done with him.
What about all these defensive free agents? Who would be the top priority on defense as far as the free agents go?
I said this earlier this week. I want to know who McCarthy's Flozell Adams is because when Parcells came in 2003, Flozell had one foot out the door. It seemed like he hadn't had this great 5 years yet. First thing that Parcells says, we've got to re-sign Flozell Adams. Are you kidding me? Left tackle looking like that? He makes 5 straight Pro Bowls after that.
He knows how important that left tackle position
exactly.
is.
So I wonder who they look at and go.
It'd be Robert Quinn.
Is it
how
Robert
important
Quinn?
is that edge rusher?
Is it Malik Collins? They may look at this and go, we're not letting Byron Jones go. So as he's still getting the staff together, it's hard to answer those questions for them. But I have a feeling that one of those defensive linemen, Malik, Quinn, maybe Michael Bennett, he's up there in years, but I wouldn't be surprised if they said, we got to get Malik Collins and get him coached the way we want to coach him. And I think that they may look at him and say, we're not letting him go.
All right, Nick Eatman, his fine work on DallasCowboys.com. And up next, David Moore rejoins us, and we take a look at NFL Divisional Playoff Sunday in just a moment. Final couple of minutes of Cowboys Huddle, powered by Reliant Energy, as David Moore rejoins me as we go over what's going on this NFL Playoff Sunday. The early game is at 2 o'clock on CBS. It's Houston at Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Who you got?
This one, Houston's really fought their way, and they don't look good a lot of times in winning, but they do find ways to win. And it's easy to overlook those teams a lot of times and not give them credit. I guess that's what I'm about to do because I think Kansas City at home, the way they're playing, and you go into this round, you look at the teams that have the higher seed, that had that extra week off, they're usually pretty hard to beat. And I just don't know that Houston defensively is going to be able to slow Kansas City enough where they have a chance to win this game. So I'm going to go Chiefs here.
In the later game on Sunday evening, it's Seattle at Green Bay. And, of course, the Packers, the higher seed, with the extra week off.
Yeah, and Seattle, actually, you kind of feel a little bit better of where they've been over the last 3 to 4 years as far as their ability to do it. But you look at Seattle on the road when they're not favored in the playoffs, and they really haven't done well. Green Bay's favored here. This isn't the explosive offensive team it's been in the past. But if you get down and it's a close game, are you still going to say Aaron Rodgers can't get it done? I lean ever so slightly toward Green Bay in this one.
Yep, and Green Bay rebounding after letting Mike McCarthy go some 13 months ago or so.
It's been a while.
All right, David Moore, we appreciate it. We appreciate you joining us here for Cowboys Huddle, and we will see you again next week.
Cowboys Huddle was brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.